Hello, dear sister. Here we are again at my home, and we continue our talk about meek and gentle spirit. And I wanted to share something personal with you. You know, last week was a very discouraging week for me, even to the point of crushing my spirit, because several times, unfortunately, I failed the Lord in being meek and quiet with my husband. And it was so discouraging, you know, even to the point that I didn't even want to come out online and share anything with you, because I was thinking, I'm this just giant, big, fat hypocrite. How can I tell anybody to walk in meek and gentle spirit if I myself cannot do it? So I was very discouraged. But then, obviously, the Lord started strengthening me, and I strengthened myself in the Lord just like David did. And my spirit perked up. I realized that this is a lifetime process, that I am not where I want to be yet, that I am humbled greatly to see how weak I am in this area, and that's probably one of the hardest things that I have ever had to work personally on in my life. So it was difficult, and so I want to make sure that you understand that, you know, I am by no means perfect. I'm exactly where you are, and I have the same struggles that you do, and so we are in this together. So it was very interesting, because several times when I fell into nagging at my husband, or being discontent, or telling him what to do, on several occasions I didn't even notice that it happened. And the point is that this sin of falling into nagging or discontentment or being negative, it is such a subtle sin. And so many times we're just blind to it, just like I was blind to it. I didn't even notice. So, and very often, obviously, Holy Spirit is the one who convicts me, who reveals the sin to me. Sometimes right away I start having this uneasy feeling. I realize that what I've just said was nagging, or what I just said was manipulative. But sometimes also my husband corrects me and reproves me and rebukes me. And not because, you know, because he's not trying to lord over me, but because he's just trying to help me to stick to my convictions and my beliefs, which is the desire to walk in the gentle and quiet spirit. So he's trying to help me. He's coming and encouraging me and helping me to change in this area, to break those thought patterns and word patterns that I unfortunately worked on for many years, and developed those negative reactions in my speech, in my life. So my husband reproves and rebukes me and corrects me, not because he's trying to hurt me, obviously not, or upset me. And sometimes, you know, when our husbands correct us, they're afraid to upset us, because later they know that they will be afraid to share anything with us, because we are upset. We get upset so easily, and I do too. And I know it is a very immature response, but at the same time, most of the times I just get discouraged. You know, sometimes I shut down and I just get discouraged. But I know this is an incorrect, and this is not a biblical response. And I will tell you what the biblical response to your husband's correction would be. So, my husband, when he corrects me, or your husband, when he corrects you, he gently reproves you or rebukes you, he's trying to bring light to you, for you to see that what you might be saying or might be doing is not right. He gently exhorts you, reproves or corrects you, because he loves you. And the same with my husband. He loves me, so he wants me to grow. Our husbands, if they are true men of God, they would want us to grow. He wants me to become wiser. And let me read an encouraging verse for us that will be an anchor for us in the moments when our husbands try to correct us. The Holy Spirit comes and gently reproves us and rebukes us. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. Proverbs 9:9. So, next time, my dear sister, I'm preaching to the choir, obviously, too, when our husbands correct us or try to bring our attention to the areas of our lives that are not in tune with the Holy Spirit, we should remember that we are becoming wiser through our husband's correction, through our husband's gentle rebuke. We should be encouraged in that. We are becoming wiser through their correction. So, just like I mentioned, sometimes I do get very discouraged with myself when my husband shares things like that, you know, that he noticed I nag or things like that. I get discouraged. But once again, I want to remind you that we should not get discouraged. We should be glad. We are growing in wisdom. We are believing that it is the Holy Spirit talking through our husbands. It is the Holy Spirit talking through your husband, my dear sister, to you when he rebukes you or tries to correct you. Our husbands are our earthly Lord, and they're very often used by the Lord to bring light to the areas of our lives that need changing and where we need growth. But sometimes, very often, you and I, my dear sister, and many women unfortunately struggle with that. We shut down, and I already mentioned that, but I'm repeating that. We shut down, and this is not right. This is not a correct response. We get discouraged, or we read our husband's intentions wrong, or we want to give up. But the Holy Spirit comes to you, my dear sister, and to me again and again, and gives us grace and strength to look unto Jesus, who is the author and the finisher of our faith. Hebrews 12:2, which reminds us that he will finish the work that he has started in us. So, we need to rely on Christ's promises in moments like this, in moments of discouragement. That when will I stop nagging? When will I stop complaining? When will I stop speaking negativity? It will happen. The Lord is at work. He will finish the work. Being confident of this very thing, that he which has begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. The Lord promises to perform this work in you, my dear sister, and in me. Philippians 1:6. Oh, where am I? So, my dear sister, on the practical note, for this week, the assignment, so to say, for you and for me will be to examine our lives. Sit down in your prayer closet with the Lord, pray, ask the Holy Spirit to illuminate your life. And you already know many areas in your life where you need growth, like nagging, complaining, controlling your husband. And write down a list of all those areas that bring reproach to the name of the Lord, that grieve the Holy Spirit. Write down the list, and I'm going to do the same. We are going to write down all those things. For example, usually and not just abstract things like, you know, I nag. No, specific things. I want you to write down specific things. Like, for example, I ask my husband or remind him very often when he comes from work, because he's a roofing contractor, so I remind him to wash his hands again and again and again and again. This is wrong, because I'm not in control whether he washes his hands or he does not. He's a big grown-up man. I'm not in control of that area. So I'm writing down on my list this particular specific thing. Me telling him to wash his hands. And the same with you, my dear sister. Write down those specific things. We need to remember that it brings peace to the home when we let go of those little things that we want to control. It does, and that's what my husband tells me all the time. Honey, when you don't nag, when you don't complain, when you're content and happy, there is such peace in the home. The Lord's peace reigns in the home. So that's what we want. That's what we desire. We need to see, as we write down those things, it will help us to see the extent of how controlling we are. So we need to see the areas of our lives that we want to control. Whether it's our homes, we don't want our husbands to bring their friends or do with our homes what they want to do. Or whether it's our possessions, we are obsessed or possessed with everything staying perfect and clean. We're fluffing up the pillows on our couches all the time because we don't want anybody to touch our stuff. You know, whether it's cleanliness, whether it's our time, whether it's finances, we want to control our family finances. Whether it's parenting, you butt heads all the time with your husband over some parenting issues, or telling your husband what to do. We need to see, our eyes need to be open to all those areas. Taking control in one area of your husband's life will want you to desire more control in other areas. First, you will start telling him what to do in the area of finances. Then you will start taking over the area of parenting, and your voice will be louder and louder and louder, and soon your husband's voice will be completely drowned. We cannot look at victories, so to say, in controlling our husbands in some areas, thinking that if we continue to keep the pressure on in those areas, we will be able to take over more areas in the control. If we made our husbands do this and this and that for us, then we will be able to manipulate them into doing something else. We cannot think that. This is wrong. This is not right. We need to remember that it is the Holy Spirit who moves our husbands to do what is right from their heart, not because they are told. And we also need to remember that any time we tell our husbands to do something, we are trying to control them. So, my dear sister, this week, write down a list of what the Holy Spirit is going to show you and start presenting that list before the Lord. First of all, obviously, asking the Lord's forgiveness for all those sins of controlling and manipulating your husband. Then, one by one, asking the Lord to uproot those things from your life and from your heart, and pray for victory in those areas. And Lord wills, I will see you next week, and I will be praying that you will have the victory over the sin of discontentment, nagging. See you next week. God bless.